very thoughtful plan. And then what does a patient say? But that's more than I was expecting to pay. That's expensive. Ooh, I don't know if it's in my budget. Here's what I want you to remember when you hear that feedback from your patient is that actually most price objections in aesthetics are really a false objection. That's not really the objection behind why they're saying no, they don't want the treatment plan. If it were really only about price, they wouldn't be sitting in your chair. They came to you because, something felt right with you or your practice. So when a patient says it's too expensive, generally one of three things is usually happening. Sometimes multiple, but likely what has happened is that they don't believe you that it's going to work, or they don't believe the value is there yet, right? Potentially they don't trust the relationship. You think about some of the things that you have invested in or the people that you have invested with. And it likely wasn't this big conversation or this big sales process. You trusted them, you had a relationship with them, so they didn't have to go into the weeds with you. So, the biggest mistake that I see happen over and over again when you get feedback around price, and in that moment, you are immediately responding with information instead of what you should be doing is really finding that connection with your patient. Too quickly, we jump into explaining, the product or the technology or how many units or syringes, right? When what we really need to be doing is to help the patient feel understood, to help the patient build trust with you. So instead of rushing right into justifying price, we need to slow down for a minute. Try saying something like, that's totally fair. Tell me, what about that feels expensive for you? What were you expecting to pay? What part of this feels like a stretch for you? When you ask those types of questions, instead of immediately responding, with technology or science or units or product, right? What happens is the question alone often reveals what the real concern is. And again, it usually isn't about money. They don't believe that they can get the result that you are promising, or maybe that you're the person to give them the result that you are promising. Additionally, that trust, that emotional connection is just not there. So then we need to re-anchor to value, again, not to price. So remind them, right? Remind them that your goal is for them to love how they feel when they look in the mirror. Your goal is for them to love the result that you give them. And this plan aligns with what you told me that you want to achieve, or the result that you are after. And this is what it's going to take. So, responding with asking and going deeper with more questions and re anchoring your value is the approach to go versus just gaslighting them with all of this information. That is what is going to build confidence and trust with your patient. So, remember this, that people, they don't buy premiums for injectables. They buy premiums for trust and confidence and connection, because everyone has the same products, right? Everyone is offering all the same services, but what is different is that trust, that confidence, that connection that you build and make with their patient. So slow down, Make eye contact with your patient. Ask lots of questions, and not just about the treatment or procedure that you are doing or that they're interested in. I want you to get to know them and really what is important to them. And then reflect what you hear back from them, not just again gaslighting with how smart you are and all the information that you know about the technology or the treatment, but they want to feel seen, they want to feel heard. And always end with reassurance, not pressure. And when you follow that structure and framework, you are going to get the answer that you are looking for, which is a commitment to get started with that treatment plan. Because when patients feel connected, price matters way less, right? They're not just choosing a treatment, they're choosing you. So remember that when you're focusing so much on the product or the technology or the number of units or number of syringes, go back to what they're really choosing, which is they are choosing you just as much as they are choosing that treatment plan or that service or that product. So, what is it that you can do to build that connection and that trust with your patient? So, I hope that's helpful, because I know a common question objection always shows up appearing to be about price. But if you pull back the layers, pull back that curtain deeper, you're going to find that it's really more about missing that connection and trust with your patient, and really has nothing to do with price. Hope that's helpful. Share that with your team, and it's going to help you to close more high ticket packages. Thanks, guys.